Hey, what happened? Sorry if we got cut off. Hate it when that happens. Were you in the middle of something
Sorry,
good?
but I think there was a problem with the servers. So in 5 seconds, we'll go live with personal music about the Depeche Mode. Five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you again with another episode of Music with Miles. Today, we are deep diving into one of my favorite bands, the Depeche Mode. Here with us, Miles.
Nice intro. Depeche Mode, excellent choice. Let's do this thing. Anything you want to kick things off with, or should I just jump right into the deep end of Depeche Mode lore?
As you know, the audience of Parseval Music Channel is interested in various topics, but I think today the most important things is to depict the musical scene of Depeche Mode, and I think at the end of 70s, 80s, there was the start of this, and it was an incredible period.
You're preaching to the choir here. But the late '70s, early '80s, that was a wild time for music, especially in the UK.
Yeah,
You had punk's raw energy starting to fade, but this whole new underground scene bubbling up, synths, experimentation, and a lot of angst. The Depeche Mode was right there in the thick of it. They weren't just playing music; they were reflecting this whole feeling of restless change. What do you think was the biggest factor in that scene exploding? Was it a reaction to something, or just pure creative energy?
I think sometimes we find in music something that helps us in tough times. So, as I know about that band, probably the music was a way to escape or express their inner soul in that tough period, but very energetic also.
I like that. Using music as an escape, or a voice for what you can't quite say out loud. Depeche Mode definitely had that melancholic edge, but they could crank up the energy too. It's like they
Yeah.
captured the whole spectrum of emotions in their music. You think that's part of what resonated with so many people back then?
I think yes, it's so many bands are nowadays being inspired by them, and let's talk about the one of the greatest hits of the Depeche Mode. Enjoy the Silence. I think is a masterpiece. What do you think about it?
Enjoy the Silence is genius, pure and simple. It's got this haunting melody, those
Yeah.
synth lines that just hook you, and then those lyrics, words like violence, break the silence, come crashing down. It's like they bottled up the frustration of trying to communicate and they made something beautiful out of it. What's your take on those lyrics? What do they mean
Yes.
to you? You think?
It's a very romantic song, and as I said earlier, I think it's a great escape and a moment of solace for the soul.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Moment of solace. It's a song about finding peace amidst chaos, even if it's just for a few minutes. It's a rare thing, a song that can make you feel both
Yeah,
energized and at peace at the same time. Do you know much about the writing process
I
behind that song?
I'll be curious if you can tell us.
Well, apparently it started with a simple synth riff that Martin Gore came up with. He was trying to write something different, something that wasn't as dark or aggressive as some of their other stuff. He wanted
Mhm.
something more atmospheric, more melodic. Do you want to hear more about the details of how it evolved from there?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right, so Gore brought this riff to the rest of the band, and Dave Gahan immediately connected with it. They started jamming on it, and the song started to take shape. But here's the interesting part. Gore actually wrote the lyrics in a very unconventional way. He started with the music first and then just let the words come out naturally. He didn't overthink it. He just went with his gut.
Music first.
Yep.
Incredible. Music, this time, music first. Very interesting.
It makes you wonder how many amazing songs are stuck in people's heads, just waiting for the right melody to bring to life, huh?
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah,
reminder that
definitely.
sometimes you got to just let go and trust the creative process, So we've talked about the vibe, the
Yeah, the
lyric.
flow.
Anything else about Enjoy the Silence you think we need to touch on before we wrap things up?
No, I'd like to talk about in general of the production of that band, if you wish.
Let's dive into their production. What are you most curious about? Where their early days, their experimentation, the people they collaborated with?
I'm curious about the mixing of electronic hardware and the most organic and acoustic stuff.
That's what makes their sound so unique, right?
Yeah,
Their ability to blend the icy precision of synthesizers with these raw human elements. It's like they realized right from the start that you could have both. They weren't afraid to let the machines be cold and detached, but
it's incredible mix. I wonder how they achieved it. Very impressive indeed.
they also knew how to bring in the warmth and vulnerability of acoustic instruments, Martin's piano often being the. It's funny you ask because their approach evolved so much over time. He just, early on, they were a lot more limited by what they could actually get their hands on. Think old drum machines, analog synths, tape decks, stuff that had a lot of character, but also its share of quirks. But as they grew and had access to better gear, they didn't abandon those earlier sounds. They experimented, layered sounds, used effects in creative ways. It was about finding the balance, right? Not letting one sound completely overpower the other.
Yes, and as you certainly know, I'm a big fan of Moogs,
Ah,
of Moog.
a fellow Moog enthusiast. Excellent taste.
Yeah,
Seems like no conversation about Depeche Mode sound is complete without mentioning those iconic Moogs.
absolutely.
You can practically hear them in every track, weaving that signature fat, warm, and sometimes unsettling texture into the mix. So, what is it about the Moog
Yeah.
sound that draws you in? Is it the warmth?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think the warmth of the bass and other parts are key in their songs. And as always, I do appreciate that kind of mixture.
It's undeniable, isn't it? That blending of the almost
Yeah,
orchestral sweeping synths with that raw driving bass line is pure Depeche Mode magic.
yeah. For another question, I'd like to know, in your opinion, according to you, which are the bands that have been inspired by the Depeche Mode the most?
Oof, that's a tough one. There are so many. Depeche Mode's influence is so broad, it's almost impossible to pinpoint just a few. But some that immediately come to mind are bands like Nine Inch Nails, who definitely took that dark industrial edge and ran with it. Then you've got bands like The Killers and Interpol, who bring that same melancholic feel, but with a bit more of a rock edge. And of course, you can't forget about the synth pop revivalists like CHVR's and Purity Rain, who clearly owe a debt to Depeche Mode's pioneering use of synths and catchy melodies. It's kind of cool to see how their sound is echoed through so many different genres and eras, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but talking about the Depeche Mode, in mind comes to me one word: nostalgia.
No, nostalgia, yeah, that hits the nail on the head for me too. Depeche Mode's music has this way of transporting you back to a specific time and place, even if you weren't even alive then. It taps into something universal
Yeah,
about longing, loss, and the passage of time. Is there
yes,
a
this
particular?
is incredibly true. My compliment, Miles.
Ah, thanks. I try my best. Is there a
It's
particular?
funny how nostalgia can affect people that actually didn't live in that period. But it's absolutely true. There's something universal in that.
You're absolutely right. And it's like
So,
music can
Miles,
create its own time
we,
capsule, a shared emotional space that
yeah,
transcends generations. It has that power. It's been great chatting with you. You clearly have a deep love for
yes,
Depeche Mode. I always enjoy talking to
yeah.
someone who really gets them. We should do this again.
Miles,
You'd like to geek out
I
about?
I think no, I think unfortunately we have run out of time. So I'd like you to give a shout to our audience if you like. It's always an honor to have you here.
All right, folks. Always a pleasure sharing the Depeche Mode love with you all. Thanks for tuning in to Percival Music Channel and keep those synths cranked. Until next time, take care.
Yes, bye and thanks to you all.
Later.
See you in the next episode.
Catch you then.
Bye, bye.
Ciao.